James Sherr, Senior Fellow of the International Center for Defense and Security, Tallinn. Hello, Mr. Sherr. My pleasure.
Hello, and thanks for having me back.
Yeah, right. Well, first question. With all this mayhem Trump caused, we can discuss that later on, but if I would say, cautiously optimistic, that Europe is awaking, would you agree with me?
I'm a pessimist by nature, but
Okay.
I am. I am cautiously optimistic that Europe is awakening, but that's an average of two things. I think a mental revolution is well underway in Europe. When it comes to the United States, basically speaking, across the board, the trust has gone.
Right, right.
The whole Atlantic Alliance is held together by trust. Everything is so deeply integrated that you can't run this elaborate machine if at any moment the principal party can throw a temper tantrum and say, no, I'm not doing that. So all this is very unnerving. We even have people who are very sober, asking questions, writing news articles, asking whether the United States has become an enemy of the West. So in this sense, there's been a major change. There's been a major change in Germany. Merz wants to talk to France and Britain about nuclear sharing and a joint nuclear arrangement. More and more military people are talking about the necessity of thinking about a future war in the absence of the United States. So these are radical changes. That's where I can be at one level optimistic about Europe. But the other level is that all the bureaucratic habits, all the divisions, all the practical difficulties, they're still there. And if you ask me if I see signs that they're really being addressed as they ought to, no. One interesting fact for your audience. In 1970, the UK devoted 5.5% of its GDP to defense expenditure.
Right.
And, now, we have the capacity to do this. Trump says you should be spending 5%, we have the capacity. Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, is now complimenting himself because he has prevailed against opposition in his own cabinet to raise defense spending from 2.2 to 2.5%. Well, this will not do. So in practical terms, I have less to be optimistic about. I have become more optimistic. I hope you're going to ask me about it.
Right.
About where things are going between the United States and Ukraine.
Exactly. I mean, this was my next question. Right.
Yeah, my views were less black than they were. I mean, in my business, you have to learn to see different shades of black and tell the differences between them, and I think I'm good at that. Ukraine is not going to get a security guarantee from the United States. Let's understand that.
Yeah.
But that's not the worst thing in the world. Yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world. Donald Trump doesn't understand security guarantees. What he understands are interests. If I read the now considerably revised minerals agreement correctly, the United States is now acquiring a powerful, tangible asset in Ukraine. That gives it a powerful interest in Ukraine's viability and its safe control of those assets and the territory around those assets.
Right.
No surprise, Donald Trump recently is talking about Ukraine reclaiming some territory it lost. This is more powerful than a security guarantee.
Absolutely.
A security guarantee is a general obligation. Trump doesn't want general obligations. But if he has an interest, we can be modestly hopeful that he will act on it. So you have to, as with Russia, you have to learn to think how he does in order to interpret things properly. So these latest developments are not at all bad. leaving aside everything that is bad. And the news on the ground militarily in Ukraine, which I've always thought is better than most people say, has improved in the last couple of days.
Well,
that's another issue. But
it is absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
well, my question was the like everyone is I hear voices that say, "Oh my God, without a security guarantees." But what are these security guarantees? It's absolutely intangible asset which I don't understand that. But I also understand a pragmatic interest, maybe not that favorable for both, equally favorable for both parties. But the minerals deal, I mean, it's a fair thing, isn't it?
yeah, but look, when Poland was overrun by the German army and the Red Army in 3 weeks, it had a treaty of alliance with France and the United Kingdom.
Yeah, where is that? Yeah.
Did that save Poland? No. No. So, what did the Budapest Memorandum do for Ukraine?
Nothing.
Created a lot of illusions for a number of years. So Ukrainians should have good reason to be skeptical about the value of guarantees. You need something which is backed up by clear, hard and fast, tangible interests.
Great.
And that's the relationship that Ukraine needs to pursue with the United States, rather than asking for things they don't understand, they don't think are important, and that they find very irritating.
Mr. Chair, do you
And by the way, my compliments again,
Sorry.
and my compliments again to President Zelensky, because I think he finally got the measure of Donald Trump.
Yeah, I'm with you.
President Zelensky was the first leader, and of Ukraine, a country at war, who stood up to him and said no. He was given a thoroughly unacceptable agreement to sign. It's what Americans call the sucker's contract. And he said, and his demand was sign it today. He said, no, I will not sign that. Well, that requires real bravery, but he did this in a very mature, very composed, very calm manner.
Right.
Which has not always been the case with him, because he sometimes becomes very emotional. Both he and Donald Trump are very thin-skinned people. This is very bad for a relationship. He has to know his ground and stand his ground, and that's what he did. And it helped to make an impression.
Exactly. Yeah, it is great. It is great because I mean, you just put all the emotions aside, looking at the goal that we want to reach, and he was understanding that Trump is the only game in town, and was calmly saying that I am not a dictator, and Mr. Trump will understand it in time. And here we go. Mr. Trump says, "Look, did I say that? No, I don't remember that anymore."
Exactly.
Right.
The intelligent Trump supporters in the States say something, and I'm not saying I hope I'm intelligent. I'm not saying I'm a Trump supporter, but I'm not. The intelligent Trump supporters say something that I agree with. You have to take Trump seriously, but you shouldn't take him literally.
Exactly.
Don't rise and react to everything he says, no matter how outrageous he is. I assure you, if you upset this man, he'll say, I don't care if Ukraine gets wiped off the map. That doesn't mean anything to me. That doesn't mean that's what he really,
But it's,
he really is.
Well, the people and officials in the different countries, I mean, I was in Munich at Munich Security Conference. I'm working with my colleagues from Washington Post, from New York Post, from Time Mag, and everyone. We were talking, and we heard the J.D. Vance speech when we were listening to it. We were writing some I mean, journalists are cynical bastards in nature. It's an occupational hazard for us. And everyone was stunned. We were literally looking like this. Heads started to pop up like, what's going on? And this was the very moment that Europe, awake from a deep sleep, I don't know, from a state of like, we have to discuss things. It's nothing to discuss here. It's the wolf standing at our door, and something is being done. That's at least what these actions by Europe is taken now are caused by Trump. Am I right?
Well, here comes the question. how much of this can be remedied over time? How much of what we see, which we rightly
Absolutely,
find
right.
so absolutely shocking and unacceptable, how much of it is a product of ignorance?
A very good
Uh,
question.
and um, and simple ideological prejudice. How much of it can be unlearned? The problem with, you see, the challenge with Donald Trump is this. He is a man with a completely untutored mind who believes he understands everything.
Right.
And apart from that, he has more power than anybody else in the world. Well, that's a very difficult challenge. But as I think we've even seen in the past few days with regard to Ukraine, he is capable of learning. J.D. Vance is probably capable of learning.
Right.
Any opportunity to improve their knowledge, give them a broader perspective, introduce other colors on the palette.
Right. Right.
It has to be taken, whilst at the same time, all of us have to learn to depend on ourselves and to make the sacrifices in order to be able to depend on ourselves successfully. And that will be respected in the United States.
Great. Well, Mr. Sherr, again, an exquisite pleasure. You're great experts, and you're taking. I'm also, was maybe overreacting, over emotional here, but it's hard to not doing that when Russian missile just 2 weeks ago obliterated literally our office. So I know we're living in the times of war. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
very sorry about
you're
your
getting used to things like that, even. But again, thank you so very much for your expertise and for your time. I hope we can do it again sometime later on.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Great.
All the best to you and God bless.
Thank you. All the
Bye-bye.
best. Goodbye.
І слава Україні.
Героям слава.
Bye-bye.